Hello, and welcome back to Diecast Graveyard. My name is Paul. Thanks for joining me here today. Today we've got an awesome build. We've got a restoration of a Hot Wheels custom Charger. Now this car here is, I don't want to say it's rare. There's plenty of them out there, but they're very much sought after because they're such a cool casting. You can find them on eBay anywhere from $50 to $150 and sometimes even more depending on what the shape they're in. So today's build to me is going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to get started here. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and put them in the comments. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up like button, and we'll entertain you today with a really awesome restoration. Let's go ahead and get started with today's build. I've already drilled out the post, so let's go ahead and take the car apart and do the autopsy. Here's the body. It's in pretty rough shape. There's a lot of chips and flea bites in it, but we'll get that fixed up. At least the hood's not broken and the cowling is in place. Here's the base. It's a little bit tarnished, but we can go ahead and clean that up with no issues. Now the wheels on this are a little bit sloppy, but these axles are actually pinched in place, and these are really hard to fix. I mean, you can, but you definitely don't want to take these apart unless you absolutely have to. But overall, not bad. Here's the interior. We need to clean that up with some soap and water, but that's in good shape. Here's the windshield. It's a little scratched and pitted, but we need to polish that up. Let's go ahead and get it in the embalming fluid. Here we'll take the body and put it in the citrus strip. Get it coated really well, because even though we're going to be doing a fresh paint job in purple, we want to make sure that all the old paint has been removed. So go ahead and get it coated really well, and then take it out and set it off to the side on some type of tray so you can see when the paint has been completely bubbled off, so you can get it cleaned up. We cleaned up the body and it's really pitted, so we're going to have to go ahead and zinc plate this. Here I've got my setup, and I'm only using a D-cell battery. It's a mixture of sea salt and distilled vinegar. Now when you use this combination along with a zinc plating source, you want to coat it about 15 minutes to a half an hour. But you're going to have to do that on several applications here. But in between every one, you're going to need to smooth out that application, such as with a wire brush or with some steel wool or something like that. You don't want to keep building layers upon layers without smoothing it out between the steps. I have a video in the how-to section on how to do the zinc plating, and actually how to do the zinc plating on a budget. You don't have to get a big power source or anything like that. You can do this with a D-cell battery and it will turn out absolutely excellent. Let's move on. Notice how the car is bubbling up. That's the electrolysis portion of this, working with the zinc plating and the mixture of the sea salt and distilled vinegar. I love watching this work, and when you take this out of the solution, it's going to have a gray coating on top of it. Let's go ahead and continue. Here's the gray coating I was telling you about. Now I'm going to take a brass brush and I'm going to clean off the residue from the plating process. Now you don't want to do this too hard. Sometimes I recommend when you're doing this, you probably want to use some steel wool. It's a little bit smoother, but it'll still do the job. Now this brush is doing an excellent job, but you can see that there's still scratches in it. Again, we're going to have to plate this at least 3 times to get the desired result and fill in all those little pits and things from when we inspected the car in the first place. But this is turning out absolutely awesome. Make sure you get everything cleaned off really good with your brass brush. Don't use a steel brush, because a steel brush will really be aggressive and it'll take off the plating that you just put on there. This is looking a lot better than when we first started, for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step.
I love how the moonlight shines over the mausoleum.
We plated the car approximately 3 times. Now, I did blow out the post when I was drilling it, so we're definitely going to have to repair that. I've taken a small portion of this brass tubing from K&S, and I don't remember the size right off the top of my head, but it's one that'll fit over the post. Cut off a small portion, and then I'm going to use some super glue and glue it to the body of the car, trying to center it on the post. When that's done, we're going to pack it full of baking soda, and then we're going to use a liquid or wet super glue, not the gel type, and we're going to fill that up after we've packed the brass tubing with the baking soda. And this is how it turns out when you're done. It instantaneously makes it hard enough so you can drill into it. And there's today's tip from your Uncle Paulie. That turned out pretty good. Then you're going to have to file this down to get it to fit on the base. Now the base has a raised portion where the post meets the base, and you're going to have to file that down or grind that down also, so the body lays flat on the base. That turned out really good. That's going to work excellent. Go ahead and drill your hole in the bottom of the body so you can mate the car to the base with the screws, just like you see here. That worked excellent. Let's go ahead and move on. Here we've got the body ready to paint. I'm using Spectraflame Purple from the Redline shop. The Redline shop has some excellent paint products for your cars, and their line of Spectraflame paint is fantastic. Now also, there are other brands. You've got the Retroflame paint from Second Chance Redlines, and you have the Bright Vision paint, the Nitro Flame paint. Any one of these brands is excellent. Now I've used the Spectraflame paint for a very long time, and it works great. But I've also started using the Retroflame paint, and that paint is phenomenal. We already gave the first coat. It was a mist coat. Now we're coming back in and we're giving it more of a saturation coat. The key to having a great paint job, folks, is to make sure that you build up the layers and not get it too wet at first, because it will run on you, and you definitely don't want to do that. You'll have to clean it up and start from scratch. So light coats, building it up to that last saturation coat, is the way to go. And then let it sit about 10 to 15 minutes in between those coats. That purple is absolutely stunning. And if you use the directions on the sides of the bottle, it will tell you that the paint ratio to the hardener is 5 to 1. 5 parts paint to 1 part hardener. Now I use a little bit of a different mixture, but that's what works for me. So follow the directions on the bottle, and you won't even have to clear coat these things unless you really want to, or you're putting decals on the car, because these paint jobs turn out absolutely beautiful. Let's go ahead and move on to the next step.
Meanwhile, back in the graveyard.
Now it's time to replace the wheels. I got these replacement wheels also from the Redline shop. Use equal pressure with your thumbs and push the wheel off the bearing. Now if it gives you any kind of a resistance whatsoever or feels incredibly loose, just go ahead and cut off the wheel. Now I'll try and save the wheel every time if I possibly can, but if it comes at the risk of pulling off the bearing with it, then I won't do it. This car is going to look absolutely beautiful. Use your tool, put that in between the bearing and the base, and then push it on with your thumb. That'll seat the wheel nicely. Now sometimes you can't get that tool in there because the bearing is too tight. Go ahead then and push it on with your thumb. Just be careful not to bend the axle. Let's move on. Here we're going to detail the taillights. Now I'm using a permanent paint marker from Sharpie. Now this particular one, if you don't mix it up well enough, the red tends to be a little bit creamy looking. So if you can, shake it up really good. And if this doesn't work for you, then use a permanent Sharpie marker. That turns it nice in a nice deep red, and it'll look really great. And if you happen to get any paint on there like I just did, then all you got to do is take a little bit of lacquer thinner on a Q-tip and wipe it away, and that'll be gone. Here I'm using a black paint marker, a fine tip, to fill in the grill, and this will look excellent also. Now if you really want to be authentic, you can use like a flat type paint, and that'll look excellent. And again, if you happen to mess it up and put a little paint where you don't want it to, just use a Q-tip or a fine Q-tip like the modelers use, and then wipe it off with some lacquer thinner. Let that dry while you set it aside. That looks excellent. Well, get the sides a little bit. That'll kind of finish off everything, and it'll look a little bit better. Let's go ahead and move on. Here's all the pieces. We got the body. Look at that beautiful Spectre Flame purple. That turned out excellent. Here's the base. Brand new wheels all the way around. We detailed up the grill and the taillights. That looks beautiful too. Here's the windshield. We polished that up. That looks good. And here's the interior, all cleaned up with soap and water. Let's go ahead and do our reveal. And here's what we started with. A Hot Wheels 69 custom Charger. These cars are very much sought after on the open market because people love them. I mean, they're great cars. Now again, you can get them for anywhere from $50 to $150 and then on up depending on the condition. But if you do enough searching, you can find a really good deal on them. I got a lot box that had about, I want to say about 25 cars in it, and there was 3 of these in the box, and I got it for an excellent price, and I was pretty happy with that when I saw these. We took the car apart, we took the paint off, we decided that we wanted to go ahead and zinc plate it. That turned out excellent. We polished that up. We painted it with Spectre Flame purple from the Redline shop. We polished up the body, or the base, excuse me, with Flitz, and we cleaned everything up, put brand new wheels on it, also from the Redline shop, and put it all back together. Plus, we also repaired the post. So zinc plating and a post repair in this video. That was awesome. And here's what we got to. Look at how beautiful that car turned out. I don't know anyone who would not want this in their collection. This is absolutely incredible, and this is what Redline Restoration is all about, folks. Now, the best part is that you can do this. If you follow the videos that we have, you can do this. And there's a lot of other folks out there that do excellent also. Check out their videos. Check out anybody who does these die-cast builds, and you can do this stuff too. Now, if you have any questions, like I said, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'll get back to you as best as I can. The end results speak for themselves, folks. Now, I've got a ton of videos out there. I've got the zinc plating video that I mentioned to you, and I've also got a whole bunch of other how-to videos, like how to select an airbrush, how to select a compressor, etc., etc. And I've got a whole bunch more videos coming out in the very near future. Thanks for joining me today in Diecast Graveyard. It was a lot of fun. My name is Paul, and like I said, check out some of the links in the description. I've got a Patreon page, and I sure could use your support. Plus, I've been doing a lot of live feeds lately, so look out for that. Thank you, and cheers.